of the Master, my brothers and sisters. And you are of infinite value. 2 Peter 1:4 says, whereby we are given unto us exceeding and precious promises, that by these you may be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. So now you can go ahead and be what God called you to be, my brothers and sisters. On this Tuesday, nothing is impossible to him that believes. So as I always say, remember, believe in yourself. God believes in you, because there is a way out of your mess, and it's JESUS. Praise the Lord.
Where can you buy a brand new Nissan with a lifetime warranty? Kingston Pike. Hey, folks, Gerald Anderson with Ted Russell Nissan. You heard it right. Every new Ted Russell Nissan comes with a lifetime warranty, and that's a long, long time. Ted Russell Nissan on Kingston Pike.
Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Rome, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 865-457-1380 or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Everybody, welcome into Tuesday edition of Ask Your Neighbor. Our guest this morning, Court Clerk Rex Lynn. It's been a long time since you've been here, pal.
It's been a while.
It has been. I mean,
I used to enjoy my monthly meetings.
Oh yeah, we had a good time.
We did.
I've told people before. I said, you know, I've had disagreements with all kinds of political figures in the world, but we always seem to get along. I said, ask Rex. Me and him argued once a month.
Well, we did.
I saw Myron at Rick Scarborough's kickoff.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Myron, have we ever bought that industrial property we raised taxes to put the money aside for yet?
No, we haven't.
And he just laughed at me and said, Ron. I said, we haven't, had we? I said, you owe me a bet because I bet you we wouldn't. And we still haven't.
No.
We raised taxes, 3 or 4 cents. And all of that money was supposed
Future industrial property purchases.
That's what it was for.
We've used as a slush fund.
We've used it for everything you can think of, and we've not bought the first piece of property, which I said we wouldn't, but there you go. So, but again, we were friendly and still are, and we can have disagreements.
Yeah.
And you and I had a lot of them, but I miss having Terry come up once a month or whomever. I miss that because it's good
to get the word
people.
out. I mean, a lot of people don't know, don't follow. The papers don't get the distribution they used to have. And,
sure.
And people don't know what's going on. But this is a good opportunity, a good outlet. I enjoyed it.
Well, and I appreciate you for doing it. I appreciate you for coming up here on this. This is a big deal. We just went through a big deal, didn't we?
It was a big deal.
I don't think that well, even I didn't realize the scope of it until after I spoke to you a little bit and looking into it. Man, the trial. How long did it take from the time that they found the guy, arrested him, to get to trial?
I had to go back and make notes.
Okay.
One thing, we've not had a murder trial that's went like this since 2016, a death penalty case.
So we did have a death penalty case in
2016.
I couldn't remember
and
that.
The guy did not get the death penalty. He got life, but did not get death.
Okay.
And so, it doesn't happen very often. The process to get there, there's a lot to it. There's nobody left in my office that was here in 2016. I think there might be 2 left, but they weren't really involved in the trial. So, and I didn't have a book or a manual to say this is how you do this.
Yeah.
And so I've made some notes and hopefully and there's actually one coming up in a couple of years that could be worse than this one.
Here?
Yes.
So wow. Okay.
So it's courts may work it all out, but whatever. But there's a death penalty case kind of in the horizon.
Okay. So how first of all, what all goes into it? we sequester juries on all death penalty cases, or is just
Well, it just depends. They typically are.
Okay.
That's the rule of thumb. The judge will make that call.
Yeah.
But the timeline, as you say, August 5th of 2020, Finnegan was arrested.
Okay.
So that's
Shoot.
So we're in. I mean, it's a 4-year process to get to where we got.
Wow. Okay.
It always starts everything always starts in general sessions. Sometimes they can send, from the grand jury, they can send it straight to the criminal court, but typically everything has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So general sessions is where it started, and it got bound over to the grand jury. March. So there's the time. So and in March of 2021, the grand jury got it, and then June 1st of 2021, the indictment went out. That was the formal notice that said, hey, we want to press charges on this guy. So on June 2nd, he was actually arrested. He was already in jail, but he was arrested on the charge, on the indictment. And then June 3rd, he was arraigned. Formally, the formal reading where they read him the charges of what he's getting, what's been charged of. So then the next few years, it all starts going on. So for the next 2.5 years, there was a lot of motions made in court. He gets a court-appointed attorney. They have to be death penalty certified. So the courts, we've got a lot of stuff for those 2 years. But then on, on April the 18th, 2024, this year, that's when the rubber started hitting the road. We actually sent out 1,000 summons to citizens across Andrews County. So they were mailed out.
That's to get jurors, right?
For jurors.
Okay.
So 1,000 summons went out. Out of those 1,000, about 500 were already excused they had major medical reasons. They have to bring me a letter from the doctor. We have to send all those things to the judge. I can't, in this case, is such a high profile. My hands are off. It's all, the judge has to approve everything.
Yeah.
So we'll send all those to the judge. So he excused about 500 for medical reasons. The people's no longer a resident of Anderson County. They've got a criminal record. If you've got a student that's living off campus, they don't. The law actually doesn't take them out of classroom,
Gotcha.
So they get excused. So that was on April 18th. On May the 13th, a month later, we had jury orientation when the judge came in. We had Judge Ash came in.
How do you narrow it down from 500 to however many you orientate?
So we started, 500, we had orientation. That's where, and so this judge, he's a senior judge. I think he's out of North Middle Tennessee somewhere. Great, he's a retired judge, but senior judge, but he was fabulous. I'm telling you, he was a fabulous judge. So we invite 500 people to come to the courthouse for jury orientation. We filled up every courtroom we could find on the 3rd floor. We had them packed in everywhere.
I was going to say, where?
It was crazy as far as parking.
So they all came?
Everybody came.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And so we probably, that day, they had a chance to speak if they had other reasons why they couldn't serve. The judge would, he let probably 40 or 50 go immediately, get them, cull them out.
Mm-hmm.
We had a 200 and let's see, it was about a 20. I think it was about a 26-page questionnaire that's prepared by the state of Tennessee about your beliefs, anything that might have issues. That might tell the state what your personal life is. What
like
your
if you don't believe in the death penalty,
that's one of the questions. Do you believe in the death penalty? If you check no, they're going to come in and ask you that, but you're gone. If you don't believe in that. So that was a long day. We had getting everybody in and out. So
and now, what were your responsibilities? Kind of corral. What were your responsibilities in that? Was it your office that you got them in and found them the rooms?
Yeah, we had to find the rooms. We have to prepare the questionnaires. We have to make sure. Everybody's got to have a pen. Everybody's got to. Everybody's got to find a place to park. I've got to coordinate with City of Clinton. Hey, please don't write no parking tickets today.
Yeah.
And so after those, they filled out the questionnaires. They got to leave. So the judge took those back, and he reviewed every one of them. And he's got an assistant that works for the state of Tennessee that actually helps him. It's a judicial assistant. Trying to think here. After reviewing those first time, he cut it in half. So we had about 250 that actually made the cut. That from after reading the questionnaires, that they could potentially be a good juror. So on June the 24th through the 28th, we lined up the whole week. Every day we'd bring in 30 in the morning, 30 in the afternoon to sit down, and so that for the chance for the judge and the lawyers to start asking them individual questions.
Is this where the lawyers get to pick and choose and say,
It was kind of like it's called it voir dire. It's kind of like the pre-voir dire process.
Okay.
And so those 5 days the judge wanted to get, his opinion was we need to get about 70 jurors in our pool to pick from. Some of us our number was more like 85 or 90, because you've always got people that don't really realize how serious this is until the day they show up for court.
Gotcha.
When it starts. And so we started Monday morning, Monday afternoon. We went all with, and so Thursday afternoon, we actually had 85 potential jurors, and he was like, "That's enough, cut it off." So Friday, if you were on the list to come in on Friday, you were excused.
Okay.
And they were happy because they knew that was going. So that was on June the 28th. August the 12th was the first day of court. That was on a Monday.
Yeah.
And that was the true voir dire. So we had 85 people come in that day, and even that day we probably had another 7 or 8 that came in with vacations they had scheduled, they had surgery scheduled, they had some type of illness that the judge went ahead and excused them for that. So we spent most of the day. It was probably late in the afternoon. He narrowed it down, and he got 12 jurors and 4 alternates.
Is the courthouse open to the public when that's going on?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing. Nothing was closed on this.
Okay.
Media was left out at this point in time because we didn't. And there's really nothing for the media, for their cameras to see at this point.
Sure.
I mean, we're just trying to select jurors. What's your beliefs? Try to make sure you're a good fit for this trial. So
you don't really want the media knowing who the jurors are anyway.
And they know beforehand. And I've got to say, the media. Let me tell you about that. So we got our 12 jurors and 4 alternates. At that time, they're all jurors. There's 16 jurors. There is no alternate. We have 4 extras, but we wait. So the full 16 hear the whole trial, and toward the end, he'll select the 12 he wants, or not. He'll randomly pick 12 names out of a hat.
Gotcha.
And then the 4 will be excused, or they'll be set to the side. So he does that to make sure that you're paying attention. Because if you're an alternate from day one, you're probably thinking, I don't have to do this. I got other things to do. So no, you don't know until the trial's over with if you're going to be a juror or not. So the media, we had requests literally from all over the state of Tennessee, and even foreign requests about having media in the room.
Well, it was on national. It was like on court TV or one of those things.
The judge has to make a decision. If you let all these, because used to you'd see all the cameras in the courtrooms and stuff. Well, now we've got court TV.
Yeah.
And court TV is professional. That's their job. I mean, they're pro. I call them, they're pros in this business.
Yeah.
And so they were approved to bring their camera system in, and it was neat. They had a box outside right outside the cameras, and any other media outlet, WBIR, WAT, they can plug their equipment into it. There's a little plug for it, and then they could go out in their van. They could go home. They could sit outside, but they got live feed from that box.
Oh, that's cool.
And court TV knows, they know the rules. You don't show a juror. There's certain evidence the judge is so grotesque. He may say, you don't show this, and no questions asked. Where if you have some other,
if I was doing it, I'd be like, why not?
Yeah, a copy of this. I'll show this. I'm going to show this. So they were extremely professional. I mean, they brought in a semi full of equipment, cameras. It's a pretty impressive. I never heard of court TV.
It's like game day rolling in.
Yeah, it was. And I've had people tell me that they watch court TV all the time.
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Oh Lord, Tracy's watched it all through the.
So they were very good. I mean. I couldn't have asked for I'm just thankful I didn't have to make that decision. But the judge, he was aware of that, so that was all done. So that Monday afternoon, we got our 16 jurors, and let's see here, August. Oh yeah, so it's kind of neat because the jurors were then. He said, "All right, guys, you're it. Everybody else, you're free to go." So he told the 16. He said, "I'll tell you what, go home, pack your bags for 2 weeks, tell your loved ones goodbye, because you're not going to be seeing them. You're not going to talk to them. Bring any snacks that you want, and come back here tomorrow morning. So they got to go home and literally imagine packing your bags for 2 weeks.
No, I can't.
I've never been gone for 2 weeks. I mean, I don't got just luggage. I don't have enough clothes. And so,
really,
so in the meantime, I've had to go ahead and so the work I'm doing behind the scenes is, what do we do with these jurors every day? I got to find a hotel that'll accommodate them. So I find a hotel up Interstate that's actually, they've done this before. The manager had done this in Knoxville, so they were very familiar with the process.
That's good.
We have to have the whole floor of the hotel. No phones. All the phones have to be taken out. TV's taken off the walls. It's a bare room.
And we're responsible when the hotel does that we have to pay them to do that.
So I go to them.
Wow, so they don't even get TV.
No. So I have to find a hotel that'll accommodate. I try to get somebody with a government rate. I try to get, I won't put them in a dump. I don't see names, but I try to find a hotel that's got a good reputation, that has a good breakfast bar, because that way because I have to feed them too. The county, the county has to feed them.
Sure.
So, find a restaurant that has a good breakfast bar. The hotel's got a good reputation, and so I found one, and I told them, listen, we'll be here on Monday, and we'll be here for maybe up to 2 weeks. So I said, I need you to block this whole floor of rooms off for 2 weeks. And the manager says, no problem. Just tell me when you're going to be here. Wow. And so we had to reserve 16 rooms. Every juror got their own room. Yeah. And we had to have one room for we call it the deputies supply room. We don't have deputies needing to spend the night, but they need a place to put their gear, any of their personal stuff. We had some food and snacks and stuff I need to have a room for. So 17 rooms is what the county had to pay for. Wow. And that was a pretty, and I got a breakdown of all the costs. Oh. I'll give you later on. So that's kind of, and so then I had to line up, lunch and dinner every night for 16 plus probably 6 to 8 deputies. Yeah. So basically 25 people every day I had to provide lunch and dinner for. So one of my clerks, she loves to organize, and she says plans. She says, let me take care of that. So I told her, let's do Buddy's Barbecue, or let's do Wingstop or Chick-fil-A, for lunch. Sure. Anybody that would cater, that we could go pick the food up and bring it back, because we really can't. We don't want to take them out in the public too much. We did Hoskins, two different. Yeah, I know the judge mentioned that at one point. That was we actually got to scold him a little bit. He took it very well. Yeah, didn't they? Well, again, I don't know if it was live when I saw it or if Tracy rewound or whatever, but he came back. He was like, "All right, I got to be careful." Oh yeah. Yeah, because we don't want anybody, the media, because, you're trying to keep the media from not taking their pictures. And he talked to most of the media and said, listen, I am asking you, don't take pictures of our jurors. Leave them alone. And if you want to talk to them after the trial, if they want to talk to you, they will. And so Hoskins worked out good because we could literally just walk them across the street. They've got the little room in the back. Yeah. We could seclude them. And they got a good variation of, for lunch items, so they get to pick from. Because, when you get 16 people, you got vegans, you got dietary restrictions, you got allergies, diabetes. I was just scared to death. Like, what am I? That was one of my fears, is trying to provide food, and you have one or two that can't eat what everybody else does. Yeah. And so we had a calendar for 2 weeks, and had lunch set up. Who was going to do it? So we had to go meet with the restaurants or the Chick-fil-A or Apple Blossom or wherever it was, and say, here's a calendar. We're going to be here on this day at this time, and I need 25 seats, or I need food for this much, and and so everybody, it worked very well. Our calendar, so I gave everybody a calendar so they'd know, the jurors. Yeah. And I said, look at the calendar for y'all decide. Like one day, I think we had I don't know. I'm just making them say it wasn't Crystal, but say it was Crystal. All right. If there's 2 people there that just like, I can't eat, that's awful. Well, okay, I'll change it. So I showed them the menus and what we were eating, and they were very accommodating. They were very good. A few of them had some particular things they couldn't eat, but they never complained. And so, particularly for lunch, we would either go get the box lunches. We'd bring them in. A couple times we went to Hoskins. And dinner was the same thing. Where did they eat at the courthouse? Did they just go out, set the table outside? We've got a jury room. Okay. It's a small room, and for 16, it's about two too cramped. But the Chancellor courtroom, Chancery Court, we got to go in there a couple times. We went to County Commission room one time.
Okay.
And everywhere they go, they've got to have 2 or 3 deputies watching them. I mean, so I've got to feed the deputy. We got to feed the deputies too. They're on duty. And so we'd put half in this room, or split them up. There always have to be at least 2 deputies. So we'd have, like I say, 6, sometimes 8 deputies watching them. So so the sheriff's department really had to work their schedule because these deputies they're not used to working 24/7, and this was a 24/7 operation.
So Russell had to keep somebody on the clock with them all the time.
At the hotel, we had to have somebody on each end of the hotel room. That we kept that whole floor, the 3rd floor. So a deputy stayed on each end of the floor room to make sure nobody wandered up in there or nobody wandered out. The jurors couldn't get in the middle of the night and go, hey, I need to go outside and smoke, right? No, you can go outside, but you better get 2 more with you, and then we'll call an officer to come with you, and you can go outside and do that. So they had to be chaperoned the whole time. They could never be out of sight.
Wow.
One night at the hotel, they did have somebody came in a little bit drunk, and he wandered up to the 3rd floor and was wandering around, and and that's what you just can't have anybody coming in to taint the pool of jurors.
Sure,
you can't. So, that was on the. So the jurors were happy. It was kind of like a field trip. They came in with their luggage. We met the first day at the hotel. We let them go and check in their rooms, give them their keys to their room. We had to label each room was like, I give jurors one. So I decided to call them, not go by names. You're juror number 3 or you're juror number 12.
Okay.
So for 2 weeks, that was your name.
Juror 12.
Juror 12 or juror 1 or whatever. And they kind of liked that.
Okay.
We gave them a name badge and had their number on it. The room was based on that. So when we brought in food, box lunches, it was easy. Just put what juror number it is, so we could handle them out that way. So we had to go to Walmart and stock up supplies.
Did you call or consult any other clerks that maybe had gone through this prior before it happened? Did you reach out for any help?
And like I said, I really just did this. We winged it.
Didn't know what you were in for till you got it.
Didn't have a clue because you don't have. And you could probably went to Knox County, and they probably have that more often than we do. But most of your counties, there's very few sequestered trials.
Yeah.
It's just so we had to stock up supplies. So you think about it. For 2 weeks, I gave everybody a sheet. It says, tell me your favorite snack, what's your favorite drink, anything else that you might need. Somebody had a special drink that they had to drink every morning. It was some type of protein.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a monster drink, but it was actually a dietary
supplement.
I had to go get that for one of them. We went to Walmart with 3. We had 3 carts. We come out of there with soft drinks and water and juices and Gatorade and chips, and it was crazy. Well,
you had to sustain people through their snacks and food and everything for 2 weeks. Or ready for 2 weeks.
These people they're giving their time back to the county.
Yeah. I
didn't want them to have a miserable experience outside the courtroom. I'm trying to make it as comfortable as a uncomfortable situation as you can find.
Sure.
I mean, you're stuck in a hotel room for 2 weeks, and you don't have any. Your family. You don't have any communication with your family.
It's not like they could just get out and take a walk or anything else either, right?
If you got 3 or 4 and you can get one of the deputies to go with you, they might go out and walk around the parking lot or something.
Okay.
But that was it. So each night they had to turn their cell phones in when they first arrived, and so the sheriff's office put each one in a little private bag. Each night they were allowed to make one phone call for 5 minutes, with a deputy sitting beside them with the speakerphone on.
Wow.
And so I'd go up there. Every once in a while I'd check on them in the evenings, and sure enough, they'd all be down the hallway, and each one be with a deputy, and you'd hear them on the speakerphone talking to their wives. But they couldn't discuss the case. And that was the strict order from the judge. He said, you can talk about anything you want, but don't you mention this case, because it's going to be on TV, and your wife or whoever's going to say, well, what happened on this? Off limits. You can't do it. We normally got back to the hotel by 6 p.m. We stayed in court till 5:30, sometimes 6. But we were back at the hotel by no later than 6:30. I'd try to have their food. I'd have one of my clerks go ahead and go get the food, bring it back so it'd be warm for them. have it all laid out on the table. And we, like I said, Buddy's barbecue one time. So, we laid up there and they got to go through. And so they gave us the banquet room there at the hotel. And that was our room. Nobody else could come in there. They couldn't leave unless the officer with them, and nobody was allowed to come in. And so by 7:30, some of them just say, hey, Lee, I'm ready to go to bed. Well, there's an officer on the third floor watching, so they could go and have to have an officer escort them up there, and he'd hand them off to the officer on the third floor, and they go back downstairs.
Wow.
We actually got a TV down there, and we hooked up Netflix. And they watched just a few movies, but they had to be approved by the judge. It couldn't be any crime movie. It could be – there was actually an adult cartoon, kind of like The Simpsons or something like that. They could watch something like that. But they watched a little bit of TV, not much. Played cards, puzzles. I couldn't tell me any puzzles. I went back to Walmart, and I bought – some of my employees brought in some puzzles. I bought some extra puzzles at Walmart. They just sit and work puzzles, and they got along. I was amazed how this group just bonded together.
Are they allowed to talk about the case amongst themselves outside of the court? No.
It says, I can't. You all get over your little thing. You can, but please do not discuss. Once you leave here, no mention anything about this case. And so they were pretty good. They took their job very serious. We worked on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
The judge said, listen, you've got nothing else to do. Quicker we get through this, quicker you get to go home. So they all agreed. Saturday's fine. So we were on court all day Saturday. We did take Sundays off, and had a few people. One of them wanted to, he said, can I watch my church service on TV? The judge said, nope. One of them wanted to say, hey, what about can we get a few and go to church? I said, no, can't leave. So
they just was there all day Sunday.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, so we just had one Sunday.
Yeah.
That particular Sunday, it was a sunny day, and the judge told him, said, bring your swim trunks if you want to go by the pool. And there was about 4 of them that went up and sat by the pool just to get outside in the sun.
Well, sure.
Some of them sat there and worked puzzles. Some went up in the room and they read. They bring reading material, and whatever book you brought, the judge had to approve the book.
Oh, wow.
So you could a murder mystery book, not allowed. I mean, it's
wow.
So like I said, lots of puzzles. Deputies were great. It actually became like a small family.
I was going to say
the relationships you could just watch every day. They got closer and closer, and everybody's first name basis. And the deputies were part of them, and they wanted the deputies to play games with them, and so it was pretty neat. So, but that was. Let's see, what else we got here?
That's just amazing.
No newspapers. We had to be careful. Like in the morning at the hotel, the breakfast room had some TVs in the wall, and I told the manager, I says, "Can you turn those off?" And they turned them off. We went to their big dinner was Harrison's on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So we walked them across the street. Same thing. I said, "Hey, listen, can you turn any type of TVs off?" And so they got a really nice meal on Sunday night. That was probably the most expensive meal we had to provide.
Okay.
Let's see. Everybody had about the hotel was great about the breakfast. I mean, they actually, the lady that worked the breakfast, she became part of their family too. And she actually did a few extra things. She knew how to cook some extra stuff.
That's cool.
The meals was. We probably had a couple of places that when I brought the meal in, I was kind of embarrassed because they were cold and they weren't packaged very good. And I hated that, but we made up for snacks. Like I said, they have every kind of snack you could think of.
That's awesome. I guess it's hard to make something like that a good situation, but at the same time, the people that are doing it as a service.
Yeah, and they took it serious. That's what I was afraid of. You always get somebody in a group that causes problems, and we had one that might have been a little bit difficult, but in the day they took. I was surprised how taking notes. Man, they had their notebooks. I had to go back and buy more filler notebook paper because they took so many notes. I mean, that's how serious they took it. So that's kind of for 2 weeks and a half. We went through all that. On Friday, August the 16th, that would have been the end of the first week. The trial actually went pretty quick. I was surprised how quick it went. So on that afternoon, I think it was Friday, the judge randomly picked at that point the 12 jurors and 4 alternates. And at this point, the 4 alternates were still part of it, but they could not be part of the group. We had to separate them.
Oh, wow.
And that was.
So did the alternates sit and hear the cases as well? But at the end of the day, they weren't with the other 12.
Yeah, we had to keep them separate. And
why is that?
I don't know. Because the judge said so.
Okay.
And
Wow.
So that was, and it kind of hurt their feelings because, I mean, they had become
buddies.
And now all of a sudden, boom, you all sit over here and we sit over here, and don't you all talk. You can't eat together.
Oh, wow.
So, and that took a few extra deputies because now we had to have these 4 over here that were
guarded separate.
Yeah, breakfast. I'd had to put them over here separate. 2 deputies. The rest of you go into here with 2 or 3 deputies. So that was a long weekend.
Is this kind of standard procedure, or does each judge create their own standard procedure inside of, I guess, kind of like a template, you know?
The way I talk to the judge about it, they all can handle it different ways. What he wants to do, his ultimate goal is to have this trial completed without an appeal. He doesn't want to give them every death penalty case gets an automatic appeal where they can send it to but it doesn't mean you're going to have a new trial.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to give them something that's going to cause this to be a
new trial.
Where it gets default. I don't know what the exact terminology is, but where he automatically gets a new trial.
Yeah.
So that's what he's so careful. So he goes overboard, but he was good.
And how does he get picked? State pick him?
State does.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to be death penalty certified, and there's just a handful of those. And then the lawyers, his court-appointed attorney had to be death penalty certified. Of course, Dave Clark, some of his staff are death penalty certified.
Yeah.
And so that was on Friday. I made a note here.
Did you sit in on all of the? Because I saw on TV, I saw you in a number of the hearings or whatever. But did you sit in through the whole thing and listen?
I have one of my clerks has to be there at all times, just in case there's a file that's needed. We just have to be there. So I have two of my clerks that are to call my senior clerks that do the criminal activities, and so they were there the whole time.
Okay.
I was in and out. I'd get tired of sitting up outside the judge. I might go stand by the door. I was actually, it's a learning process for me too.
Sure.
I want to see what's going on because hopefully we don't do this again. But if I do, I want to be prepared to kind of know what to expect. So on Monday. So that Monday, the 19th, the jurors came back with a guilty verdict. There was 13 counts, and 2 of them they found not guilty, and 11 of the counts were guilty. So that's all it was. It wasn't a sentence. It was just, are you guilty or not?
I remember the verdict came in. Me and Russell were live on the air when the verdict came in.
Yeah. So. And so the judge, so at that time, we had 4 alternates. The judge said, all right, I'm going to excuse 2 of the alternates. And so they were glad. They were kind of disappointed because, they'd followed the whole thing, and you want to see it to conclusion.
Yeah.
And so 2 of them got to go back to the hotel, pack up, and go home. So at that point, he's guilty. So now we have to start the sentencing phase. So You're going to get the death penalty. You're going to get life. You're going to get whatever it may be. So that's where they present what's called the aggravators and the mitigators. So the aggravators are things like they talked about how brutal the murder was, all the, how sick some of these things were.
Yeah.
The mitigators were things they brought in, and we had to pay for. The county had to pay for it. We brought in his ex-sister-in-law. I think she lived in Indiana or Ohio. So we had to bring her here, put her up in a hotel room, pay for her meals, which I thought was kind of, I don't understand that, but he's indigent. He doesn't have any money, and his defense, the state law says we have to do that. So she comes in and she talks about his upbringing. He had, 6 or 7 brothers, a sister. his dad, the abuse, everything. They try to say, listen, the reason he did this was because of his upbringing.
Gotcha.
So you don't need to be as harsh on your penalty because these are the mitigating factors which caused him to act like this.
Gotcha.
So they have to present all that. And then
does his judge or does his attorney tell you we would like this person to come and speak? And this, I mean, that who picks that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they came to me ahead of time, and because we had to make arrangements, they were like, we actually had he had actually been a current sister-in-law and brother that lives in Florida, and they wanted them to come up, and they sent out subpoenas, and the family didn't want to come. I mean, they said let him fry. I mean, they didn't want to come, but the law says you have to give them that opportunity.
Really?
So so his attorneys subpoenaed them, and in the day they called. They were pretty rough on the phone about why they didn't want to come, and so at the end of the day, his lawyer said just let them go. And so he said we've got to.
It would have probably hurt him worse than helped him, obviously.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they wanted him to come to talk about his upbringing.
Yeah.
Not what their opinion is of what he is now. And so the lady came in from Ohio, and she really did a great job, and she kind of explained, kind of understand why, some of these people, the way they're raised, they're abused. No, it's a sick world.
Yeah.
And how our system lets this go on. That's, we got here in Anderson County. Listen,
I know.
It's just, and so another part of one of the aggravator was, this was the greatest part. The DA thought of this. They brought in the freezer. Oh, you should have seen everybody in the court like, oh my gosh, is it still got blood in it? Is there what's left in it? But that was kind of that was done for stage presence. They brought the freezer in, they set it up there by the judge's bench, and so they talked about that, and then the medical examiner came. I can't remember when the medical examiner. She was probably here the week before, but she did a great job, and she had a mannequin set up, and every cut, every bruise, every mutilation, she'd put little spots on this mannequin. And that thing was just covered with red and black little fuzzy dots that they put on to show all the places she was cut, beat, bruised, whatever. So that was one of the aggravators as well. And they left that up there the whole time. So, but she did the county's been, actually, I helped, when I was in office, me and Dave Clark went and we contracted Melesnovic, or she's German, but she was the medical examiner we hired back in the day, and she's still the medical examiner for a lot of the counties around here. That's all she does. Okay. She is, she's top notch. They had pictures of the body, how it's mutilated and all that. They showed all the jurors, and that's where the court TV knew, don't show this. The judge says you can show this, but don't show these. And they're like, no problem. You tell us what to do. Wow. So that was the mitigators and the aggravators. So then on Tuesday afternoon, let's see here. Remember where I at?
Do you know if they offered him a plea? I know that they offered the girl a plea. What did she got, like 200 years or something?
They needed her testimony. The way I understand it, they needed her testimony, and so they offered her life without the death penalty.
Yeah.
And there's some other stuff going on. I think she got life plus 50 years or something. So she's going to spend the rest of her life in jail. Yeah. But they wanted, I think the state wanted the death penalty on this guy. It's so heinous what he did. They want
just from what I watched, and it was her testimony, I saw a lot of it. It was, I don't know. She explained it with no expression whatsoever.
Well, and if you ever watched him on there, he had no expression.
I saw it just when they'd cut to him sitting there. He just sitting there looking.
He would just sit there and stare.
Well, I thought to myself, they've got him on he's got tranquilizers or something, surely. I don't know.
I think he was on some type of meds. I think one day he didn't maybe take his meds. I listen a lot about, but he did, when he talked about his dad upbringing, how his dad abused him, beat him, and all the stuff that happened when he was a child. Somebody said they saw him a couple tears running down. You could tell him thinking about that, but very, very little emotion. And when they showed the bodies, the cut ups, all that stuff, he just stood there and just watched.
Oh Lord.
So that was so back to so we let a couple of jurors go. So then we still had 2 alternates that couldn't be there. They couldn't be part of the deliberation. They couldn't go back there while the 12 were deliberating. We had to put them in our new witness rooms, and they had to sit there for 2 days in the witness rooms all by themselves.
The 2 alternates?
Yeah. And I didn't understand that, but they couldn't be part of the ones deliberating. That was just the rule.
Well, probably if they ended up hung, would they bring the other 2 in? I don't know.
You keep them around in case somebody gets sick or something happens, and then if you bring them in, then to me you have to start the whole deliberating again.
Yeah.
That was the judge's rule.
Okay.
So they deliberated Tuesday afternoon, and then on Wednesday they came in, and it was around 12 o'clock. They handed the death penalty. And be honest, I think the word, you listen to everybody, nobody was really sure that he pulled the trigger. The girl, Dishman, was just as much part of it as he was. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's just...
She participated in all of it from her own testimony.
The wagering around the courthouse was, well, he's going to get life, but I doubt if he's going to get the death penalty. So the jurors came back, and the verdict was death. So the verdict form on the first 3 charges, the premeditated first-degree murder of Miss Paxton, he was found guilty of negligent homicide. He was not found guilty of first degree, and that's what we thought the death penalty come from. But the first 3 charges were all death penalty charges. And so the second verdict was guilty of first-degree felony murder during the perpetration or attempt to perpetrate aggravated rape. That's what he was guilty of.
Wow.
And first-degree felony murder of her during the perpetration of a kidnap or perpetrated aggravated kidnapping. So he was part of it. So they can't say he pulled a trigger, but he was part of the kidnapping and part of the aggravated rape, which led to her death, because they know he was involved with that.
Did they shoot her? Or did they choke her? How did they end up? How did
the cause of death seemed to be where she was strangled?
That's what I thought.
They had marks on her neck, and that's what appears to be. But they kidnapped her based on the testimony. They
chained her to a bed.
Yeah, kidnapped her, brought her back. They chained her up. His mother was still alive with cancer and had morphine, and they feel like that they had probably doped her up with drugs and morphine and chained her to the bed, and she probably laid there 3 or 4 days just chained up. They take a bedpan over there for her, and all that stuff, and it was just unbelievable. And then he'd go off to work.
Yeah.
And then he'd come back home, and at some point in time, that's what they when she finally was deceased, they called up Rent Center and said, "Hey, bring us a freezer. You don't mind bringing?"
I saw where she talked about they had it downstairs, and he was afraid his mother was going to look in it, so he turned it around. Then they ended up him and her carrying it up the stairs.
So can you imagine the Rent Center guy? He went into the house where there's a dead body, and she's like, "Hey, here's your freezer," and they
wow.
So that's kind of where it ended up. They said the verdict was death, and but just my notes are here. I just want my staff, for never doing this before. God, so impressed. They had lots of overtime. They had to work weekends. All the scheduling events. The whole jury process. The deputies couldn't have had thank Sheriff Barker and his deputies. None of them complained. They became part of that small family. The jurors they were just bragging on about everybody. They actually want to have a reunion. The jurors told me that we met with them after the judge came.
Yeah.
The judge came and met with them and told them, the trial's over. If you want to talk to the media, you can. It's your call. Because I had some media that would like to wanted to talk to them, so I emailed each juror and I said, if you want to talk to Ron Meredith, WYSH, here's his phone number.
Sure.
But you don't have to call him.
Sure.
And so I think there was actually one that talked off camera and one talked on camera, but one their face blacked out.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I saw the interview. So it was, and they all came out afterwards, and it just, they were, some of them crying. It was very emotional.
I was going to say, it has
you're
to
actually
change
at that point. You're determined this guy's, if he's going to live or die. And as brutal as it is to take somebody's life, that's tough.
Oh, I agree.
We talk about like I'd kill that.
Yeah,
I'd kill it. Yeah, but when it comes time,
yeah,
man. So there's going to be an appeal process. There's going to be.
Do we do that?
No, he'll be sent up to Knoxville at the appeal court. I was told by one of the attorneys that we're trying to follow Texas, the rules. That Texas has about a 4 or 5 year process where when you're sentenced like this guy was, in 5 years you're going to the death chamber.
Gotcha.
Ours has been a lot longer than that. We've had people been there for
20 years.
We're trying to change. I don't know exactly what we're changing, but I suspect 10, 12 years. I don't know if he'll live that long. He's 50. I think he was mid 50s. Now she's gonna. I don't say jokingly talk about this, but at Dishman, she was the biggest winner of all this. Mm-hmm. Her whole life, her father was I think a minister. She had some real issues at home. As soon as she was of age, she hit the streets, got into drugs, went from home to home and she talked about being engaged. She's
engaged like 5 or 10 times.
She would find somebody on Facebook and say, "How can I move in with you?" And that was her engaged. So she was always kicked out. She never had a home. Always struggled for meals. And one of the lawyers made the point. She's gonna be fine. She's got for the rest of her life. She's got a roof over her head. She's got 3 meals, and she can probably have sex anytime she wants to. She had a situation in Harris County Jail where she had a situation with one of the jailers,
which I remember when the jailer got in trouble. That led to a lot of this. Yeah.
So everybody's like, "Oh, I remember that now. That's the guy."
Yeah.
And that really was the judicial system was very concerned that how that would affect this case. We didn't know if that would spoil it or not and cause for a mistrial, but. It didn't, and so it was good. But yeah, so she's a big winner. She's never had a home, and she'll be fine.
She won't even know what she's missing.
Nah, it's a better life. It'll probably be a better life than she would have had any other way.
Wow,
that's sad.
And when you listen to it, she would talk about going to the neighbors and borrowing the neighbor's phone and all that, and why not? Oh. I was just like, why? She acted like she was held there. It's just like, why didn't you leave? Why,
So a lot of people says, well, what did this cost? So we did a breakdown.
Russell told me it was like over $100,000.
Well, we had planned. When I first started this, again, I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
I'm figuring 2 weeks hotel, food, I came up with $70,000. So
okay.
With the county commission, I said, hey, my revenues last year were really good. And I said, my revenues are going to be over $70,000 more than I projected. So could you take that money and just put it in a reserve code for this trial? So we'll use that as maybe that's enough, may not be, but as a starting point. So we had $70,000 in a pot of money this year for this trial. So the hotel, when I closed out, it was $16,000 for the hotel.
Not bad.
So I'd planned on like $24,000, but I thought we'd be there two full weeks. So. Mm-hmm. So that took care. And like I say, we got free breakfast every morning, which was very good. So meals. Typically, a meal for 25 people ran about $250 to $300, maybe $350.
Okay.
Walmart supplies. We spent probably a little over $1,000 on drinks, chips, snacks, puzzles, things like that. Like I said, the big dinner was that ain't right. Somebody missed that one. The Harrisons was with tip and all, was probably close to $700. So all in all, let's see, food, hotel was about $24,000. Our special witness, we had to bring that lady in, the ex-sister-in-law. Mm-hmm. That cost us about $1,000. The jury payments. So a typical jury, if you're called in for a petit juror trial right now, we'll pay you $11 a day is what the state says we have to pay. And every time you come, you get $11. On a capital case, you get $30 a day.
So these people,
they got $30. So we wound up paying about $4,700 to all the jurors. So all those 500 that came in that first day, they get a check.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every day that you're there dealing with the court, you get paid. So we sent a bunch of checks out.
Wow.
And sheriff's overtime, that's a number I don't have a good feel for. I went and talked to the budget office. I'm figuring it's probably in the $25,000 range.
Okay.
My staff, we probably had about $3,000 in overtime. So I think the total bill was right around probably $65,000.
Okay.
So, I mean, it wasn't a lot of money. And so I was like, okay, who at the state of Tennessee do I send this bill to so I can get reimbursed? They looked at me real funny and goes, no, this is on you. It's on Anderson County.
Yeah.
So Anderson County paid the full bill. No reimbursement.
Wow. I don't think folks understand. I don't. I had no idea of everything that went into it. You see it, you know that it's a jury, and you know that they're sequestered, but all the little details that go through with it, I guess unless you're a clerk or part of it, you have no idea.
And I was exhausted. My wife, she didn't really see me much for 2 weeks because literally I'd get up at 7. I'd be at the courthouse or at the hotel at 7 to make sure that we get them on the bus. We'd have transportation. The sheriff's department had to provide. Had to get a couple of vans.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that the rooms are clean. We've got fresh drinks in the refrigerator. We got snacks. We got their notebooks out. So when they get there at between 8:30 and 9, they're ready to hit the ground running. And then, once the morning gets started by 10 o'clock, I'm making sure the clerk's got the lunch ready, where we're going to go, whether it be a Salsaritas or a Buddy's Barbecue, or what, get them on. You can be there. Here's the credit card, get it all paid for and have it back here at a certain time. And then, once they come back and eat, then we've got to make sure that the maintenance crew and got all the trash picked up, the room swept back down. Getting ready for the dinner, because the dinner's a big deal.
Yeah.
So get back on the phone, make sure that they did get the order. We ordered it online. You got tax exempt forms that you got to have filled out. We got to have receipts. And it's just, I want to be up there to make sure that the meal's there. Everybody got what they wanted. I think one night somebody just didn't want something. They wanted a double cheeseburger or something, because the meal wasn't that good. And
yeah.
I said, just a minute. So I run over, but I got a double cheeseburger. I said, here you go. Don't tell nobody. So
what about the judge? Did we pay him, or does the state?
The state pays him. He's actually he was a judge. I think he ran for something. He told me it may have been like for circuit or criminal judge, and got beat. But his reputation was so good across the state hired him called him a senior judge. And so now he works like a 180-day contract or 120-day contract across the state. He left here. While he's here, he stayed at the hotel. The state pays for him, all that. So, but super, just a great. I was one of the best judges. Most times some judges, our judges are very good. I won't make that clear. But this is a senior judge. Sometimes you put senior by their name, they feel more important.
Uh-huh.
This guy, he rolled in. I describe it, when you see people get married on the beach and they have like white cotton pants and an orange fluffy, casual shirt. That's why he strolled in the mornings. Now he put his black robe on, but he just super nice. Complimented us, asked us for suggestions. If we saw something, he'd say time out. Tell me what you think. We said we'll always listen. So it just couldn't say enough positive things about Judge Don Ash. So he was great.
That's what you take away.
So it was actually when it's finished. So the jury, he asked me, he said, how many of these you done before? I said, man, I'll be honest, Judge. I said, I've never. I said, I didn't know. There's no manual for this. He said, we need to go on the road with this. He said, contact your clerks association and tell them you want to put a class on about how to do jury trials and invite me, and I'll be your guest speaker. And I said, well, I appreciate that.
That's so quite a compliment.
That made me feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think, again, you are a numbers guy and a details guy, and that probably has a whole lot to do with it, because I wonder how many times, it's fallen through the cracks. Somebody was supposed to order lunch or whatever didn't. And, that, I guess you got to make it as pleasant as you can for these jurors. Like I said, they're given their time for the most part. It's a service that they're doing, even though they're, demanded to do it. But still, you want to make them as comfortable and to make that kind of decision. You want them to be as in good frame of mind as you can have them.
I mean, some people kind of frowned at me like, you're getting any snack they want. Or, I mean, I could tell me, I can't say that, potassium. Yeah. Those little nuts.
Yeah. Potassium. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't say it. Pistachio nuts?
It starts with a P, but I don't want to say potassium. But I can tell how many bags of nuts we bought. I mean, just different drinks, candy bars, just because literally, like you said, they're up there in the hotel room every evening. We're trying to make it where they can, just have a decent time. But, yeah, they all clicked. So Sunday night, we were at Harrison's. And I was me and the deputies were sitting at a table, and we had them sitting over a table, and then we had our 4 alternates in another room. They couldn't even come eat with us, with a couple of deputies.
Wow.
And I was just watching, and it was so neat. It was just like a family. They were all cutting up and give me this, talking. So I will tell you also on Sunday, this is kind of how this was a strange one.
Pistachios, Brad says. Pistachios. Thank you. Pistachios.
Yeah. So that Sunday, when we had to split the jurors up, I had 4 alternates that I couldn't let mingle with the other 12. Some of them want to go lay by the pool. Some want to go read, play puzzles. Those 4 were stuck there by themselves, like they had the plague. What do you do with them?
Yeah.
We sent them to the movie.
Oh, really?
So one of them said, I said, well, let's call the judge, make sure it's approved. And what's that, Is it Twister?
The Twister, yeah, the new Twister,
so I got online and I had 2 deputies and four of them, and we bought them tickets, and we put them in a van and get out of here. They went and watched the movie all afternoon.
Well, that's pretty cool, though.
And that really, because that morning when they had their breakfast, you could kind of tell they were not happy.
Yeah.
Because they were like, they had the plague. We want to go play. We want to go back on that.
Yeah.
And so that lifted their spirits a little bit. They really appreciated that.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, that was $110, I think, for the movie. But listen, for what they had to do and put up, that was a bargain for the county.
I think so.
And the jury verdict, when they came back, because I talked to a couple of them, like, how did you get to this point? And I mean, they just like, man, they took it serious. We studied this, and we had one that was kind of iffy on this, and that's why it took 2 or 3 days took 2 days to finally come down to the verdict. And
did they just go point by point, or did they reveal how they deliberated? No. And does the judge? I mean, does he question them? I know didn't he ask each one about did he do an individual verdict?
At the end, he has to ask each one of them.
And
so that the jury, there's jury instructions.
Yeah. And
so it was 120 pages of what their instructions of how they're supposed to go in and deliberate. So he has to read that. They even do that and Judge Spitzer does it today on jury instructions. They have to read every line by line and then give it to them, because he doesn't want somebody to come back and say, well, I didn't understand that, or I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to hand it to you.
Wow.
So it took, I think, 2 hours for him to read 120 pages. You talking about
boring.
I'd rather watch paint dry. I mean, it's awful. But they did. I watched every one of them. They could just see them just line by line. And like I said, when I knew they were taking it serious is when I literally had to go back and buy more filler paper for their notebooks.
You knew that was.
Yeah, I said, man, these guys are taking it really serious.
Outside of being a clerk, step out of the job, and just as Rex as a person, what do you take out of it? What's your perspective of it? I mean, like you said, somebody's dead and somebody's gonna be dead.
Well, I'm impressed of how serious the state takes it, I just, you see these people kill people or allegedly do this stuff, and you just like, send them out. But the state took it very serious. I mean, they were meticulous in all the details, the questions, the process. This guy got every chance in the world. And sometimes you think it's, we gave him more attention than we did Miss Paxton that died. But the state wants to be fair. I mean, like I said, if you're going to take somebody's life, better dang be sure of it. And they covered every bit of it.
Did it bother you any? Did you lose any sleep over it?
I'm weird and like the pictures and the freezer, and I don't worry about that stuff. I guess I've hunted enough over the years with the blood and guts and stuff. It don't faze me. You can watch some of the jurors, they'd hand those pictures by, and and a couple of them would cry a little bit when they'd see that what was done to this lady. She I guess that also, it brought about, she was the victim. I mean, this guy's getting all the attention for the trial and stuff. But this Miss Paxton, man, she was just, she was homeless, and she didn't ask for all that. And they tortured. And
she had some mental issues, right, that caused her the problems that she had through her life, right? She had some.
Dishman did, the other lady that got convicted.
Okay.
She had some, her mental, I don't call her mentally retarded, but her IQ, whatever, was very low.
Okay.
She had some issues. The Paxton lady.
How did she get involved? How did it happen that they picked her to kidnap? Or he did it, right?
He worked at a bar as a bar restaurant over in Knoxville. He was the cook, and I think that's how Dishman found. I think she found him on Facebook. Some randomly found him on Facebook, and that's how they met. But this girl was. She was probably in her upper 20s. She had her family was there, and she got hooked on drugs. She had several children. She stayed in contact with her family. She had a grandmother that basically raised her. Grandmother would, give her some money when she needed it, and they knew what it'd be used for. But said she had a good spirit, life of the party. But she just had an addiction to drugs and wound up at this bar, at this restaurant. And he's like, hey, come party with us.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, okay, let's go.
And that's how it happened.
That's how it got. That's how. And wound up back in Oak Ridge. And, but yeah, you see the pictures, and it's hard to believe anybody can treat and do that to another human being.
I can't do that. I can't be mean to my dog.
No, there's you talk about seeing Satan in this corrupt world. It's just, but and something else I've learned from my job. I'd say at least 90% of all the court issues, all the sheriff's issues, they have to go through all the crime. It's drug related. It's just if our legislators could ban all the drugs, we wouldn't have half of the problems we got. But everything stems from smoking a little joint or taking a little pill, or I hurt my back and I took too much pain medication. It's all drug related.
It alters what we are as humans.
Yeah.
We're wired to be a certain way, and that unwires us or rewires us. Let me ask you this, because I know there are people out there that watched it, that are interested. Can you care if folks ask questions?
No, I don't care about.
Okay. If anybody has any questions about it that Rex hadn't covered or that I haven't asked, just call me, and Jay will put you on hold, and we'll let you ask your question. Do you think that at the end of the day, were you satisfied with the verdict? You satisfied with everything? You think it turned out the way it was supposed to?
Yeah, I really, it opened up our eyes. I thought when it's all said and done, like I said, I'm not sure that we know exactly who pulled the trigger. It was a combination of the two. She played as much, I think there's some doubt, I think Dishman was very much involved with it just as much as he was.
Absolutely.
I kind of felt like when I stepped back, and everybody's like, well, I'm not sure. Did she do it? Because there's some reasons why some of the evidence showed that she very well could have been the one that
strangled her or whatever,
finished her off.
Yeah.
But then I thought, why did he keep her in the freezer? It's like his trophy.
Oh yeah.
When I've killed a big buck, I mount that. It's on my wall. That's my trophy. If my wife hit one with a car, I'm gonna go bury the evidence. I don't want
exactly.
to get rid of it.
Exactly.
So that's the only reason I kind of felt. But that's just a gut feeling I have.
Well, didn't she testify that she came in and caught him looking at her in the freezer and
doing it?
Yeah.
Cutting a body part, cutting off, and doing his thing.
Yeah, doing his thing. So that, I mean,
it's just there's.
Did it? Again, you see people come through the court all the time that have done bad things, kids or you know what I mean, that have. But did that? I don't know. Did it surprise you? Did it make you realize just how bad some people are, or did it surprise you? I guess is what I'm saying.
It is. I can't. I know there's bad people, and we see a lot of bad stuff, but the abuse that they did to that body, I just don't know how to explain it. There's just no. I don't know. Put it into words. I don't know I don't know how anybody could do that. It's a sickness. It's a satanic. I don't know how far you want to take it. It's just I don't know. It's bad.
And the only reason we ended up finding out is what, she got mad at him?
Yeah, she had a neighbor across the street, and it's funny because it's not funny, but it's just they interacted.
The neighbor, and she used the neighbor's phone.
Yeah, she would go across the street, and one of her neighbors who testified, they like to smoke dope, and they'd smoke dope, and her neighbor's husband didn't like it. So they'd just smoke, and she'd go over their house, and they'd smoke a little dope together, and she'd become friends. And
did the neighbor testify?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think it seemed like she came over one day, and she was kind of beat up. She had some bruising on her and stuff, and the lady's like, "You need to get out of this," And I think she might have said, I don't know if Dishman admitted she killed somebody, or I think she said her boyfriend had killed somebody, and they said, "We got to get you out of here." And so they called some of these halfway houses and tried to find somewhere that they could get her. Well, the mama overheard the conversation about her getting ready to leave. Well, she calls the restaurant in Knoxville and says, "Hey, Dishman's getting ready to leave." So in 30 minutes, boom, he comes flying there to stop her. And
oh, wow.
She's gone.
So did Mama know about the dead person?
I don't think she did. I don't think she knew. She knew that they did drugs.
Yeah.
But I don't think she had any clue what was going on.
Did she?
She's passed. I think within a year or two, within a year or something, she finally passed. She had, but they were getting drugs off her. That's where the morphine. Pretty sure that's where the morphine came from.
Oh wow, man, that's just crazy. Hang on, I think we gotta. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question or comment for Mr. Lynch today?
Yes, I do, Ron. There, I was curious there about the not knowing anything about the jurors there, if they were retired or still working. I was wondering if they were working their place of employment, do they have to pay them when they get called into jury duty? I know you said the county had to pay them $30 a day. I wonder if their place of employment had to pay them.
Well, the state law says if your employer has 5 or more employees, you have to pay them their daily wage while they're serving jury, so they do not lose any income. If for example, if you worked for a small machine shop or something and there's only 2 employees and the employer doesn't have to pay you, the judge would probably excuse you because we don't want this to be a burden on you or your family. That would probably be a reason to get off jury duty. But nobody lost any money. Several of the jurors, they don't want the money that we give them. It's a small stipend that we give them at the end of the jury service. A lot of them will just donate it back to the state.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Well, I was curious about that.
But most of them, I think there was.
I mean, that could put a hurting on somebody there. Needing to work, especially with the price of everything nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of we call the voir dire process. So when the judge asks you, because if you're a server and you make $4 an hour, but you make tips, well, the employer still has to pay your base salary, but not the tips. So that would cost a burden to you and your family. That is a reason to be excused from jury service. So
okay then.
But most of them, I think everybody there. I don't think there was no retirees. No, there was 2 retirees. there was actually an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old. And I was kind of concerned about them, and I talked to a few other mature jurors, and they said, I've never seen two more young adults that took their job serious. They were so impressed that she said, I have faith that our next generation has a chance after seeing those two kids. We call them kids, but they were young adults.
That's cool.
Cool there. Were these all Anderson County residents?
Yes, you have to be a resident of Anderson County.
Oh, okay. I'll ask you another silly question.
All right.
Just to break the ice a little bit there. When you took them all to dinner up at Harrison's, I don't guess they was allowed to have a cocktail with their meal, were they?
Well, they all requested it, but I had to say no. Hey,
all right, then. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, when they brought their bags. So actually, when they showed up to the hotel that first Tuesday morning, the deputies had to go through, just like the airport. We went through all your luggage.
Really?
We wanted to see your reading material. We want to see if you had any alcohol. Nothing, alcohol's not allowed.
Wow.
Yeah.
They want you sober of mind.
That's it.
Wow. It's interesting. It's intriguing tay. I mean, it's I hope we don't have another one. But if we do, you'll be ready.
Yeah. If it's all right, I like I say my line of work is not really exciting to come up and talk a lot about like what's going on in the circuit court clerk's office. But we've actually got some more. We have jury selection 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So we send out notices, and I've got one coming up that I'd like to come up and just talk about the process. And
sure.
So when people get the notice, they'll know what to do.
Anytime. To me, it's interesting.
Yeah. But this one was a one for the books. That's why I took some notes, and because I hope I never have to do it again. But at least I can hand that off to somebody else.
Wow. What little of it that I saw, and I don't know if it was live or if it was afterward or whatever, but it was one afternoon I was home for whatever reason. Tracy had it on and I was watching it. I just, I thought to myself, I would hate to be a juror, because not just that you have to make a decision about somebody's life, but just to sit there and listen. And they didn't show the mannequin or anything. I didn't see any of that on the footage. It might have been,
A few times it popped up, but not.
Okay. I didn't see it, so I didn't see any of that. But just to sit there and have to hear that in real life. It's one thing to go see it in a movie, and you go home, and you might see a disturbing movie that bothers you for a little bit, but you can shake that off. But to know, you got people sitting there that are related to the person that's dead, and people sitting there related to a person that you're going to put to death.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, that's a heavy burden.
Oh, it is. And I'm very impatient. Let's get to the bottom line. And the lawyers, they go through step by step and repeat themselves, and I would not be a good juror. But these people, I'm telling you, they'll sat and they will listen to every word. Nobody had to get called down for like, hey, pay attention, or it was. And even the judge made a comment. He said, I don't know if I've seen a better panel. I don't know how we could have picked a better panel.
That's good. That's impressive. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. You're on the air. Do you have a question for our guest today?
Yes, I do. This is Don Reeves. I know your guest very well.
No, Don.
My question is that in the final result, what did this cost the taxpayers of Anderson County, if he knows that?
The direct cost is probably in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $65,000. That's the direct cost. Overtime, food, housing, compensation for the jurors.
About $65,000.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. See you, buddy. Bye-bye. Yeah, see, I thought it was a lot more than that, because Russell said, take a guess what this is going to cost. And I said, $1 million? He was like, no, but about $100,000 is what he...
And we don't, again, but we thought this thing could go 2.5 weeks. So it wound up only being 11 days, 12 days.
It could have gone further, longer, couldn't it? I mean,
because if you look at the a lot of times you bring up the witnesses, the state didn't have, the state had a few and he had a few, but there wasn't a whole lot. And normally, you got doctors and expert,
the case pinned on her testimony, didn't it?
That was all it was. And see, we be honest, we thought her testimony would go for, I figured 2 days. Man, they kept her up there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I was shocked that they didn't get more out of her than what they did.
I think what they did get out of her, though, whether or not how deeply involved she was just so, I don't know, shocking.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, you needed more than 2 hours of it.
It got to the point. That's what I say, I'm quick to the point where they normally drag it out. But yeah, they did. They got her in and out, and she's done. Now, there's some other stuff going on that they'll probably, I'm pretty sure they're both still at the county jail. I would say by Christmas they'll be off to state penitentiary somewhere where they house, lifers.
Did she give up her right to appeal, or do you know?
I think again,
because when you plead, I don't know if you have.
When you do a plea like that, you pretty much agree. Listen, I'm done. Just give me this deal. We're done. So
wow. It's a sad set of circumstances all the way around. I think, you guys should be commended for the efficiency and the way that you handled it. It sounds like that the jurors all had as a convenient of time as you could make it.
Yeah.
But
you're always concerned about one juror being rogue, running off, making a phone call, somebody slipping somebody a note, somebody that would cause it to be a mistrial. And that was.
I just think it's takes such willpower for them all to be together afterward, and you're not allowed to talk to anybody else. You can only talk to each other, but you can't talk about what you all have in common, which is this trial.
That's hard. I don't know how you do it.
I don't know how they did it either. I mean,
that's why we had such a high security presence, because you couldn't let two go off on their own and no. Everybody stay in a group.
Wow, that's just that it's impressive. It's congratulations on getting it done so well. And like I said, I really thought something like this would cost a whole lot more than it did. But at least we had the money.
No, it was, and that's what I brag about. I like to brag a little bit. What my office, we don't generate. Well, we collect money for all the court costs and fines, and I think we probably generate $3 or $4 million a year, but that goes to the state of Tennessee, it goes to the ASAP of Anderson County, it goes to the drug fund, it goes to the courthouse security, and when they give all that out, there's a piece called the clerk fee, and that's what I'm supposed to use to basically pay for my office staff.
Yeah.
And when I started, we had, I think the number was right around I remember $608,000 was the clerk fee. It's all we turned back over to the county to cover our expense. And so I've increased collections. We're very aggressive on collections. I mean, if you owe money, a lot of times trying to get blood out of a turnip. And just some of these people, like Dishman, Finnegan, he probably owes us $30,000 or more.
Yeah, you're never gonna.
I ain't got a dime out of him.
Yeah,
but it's on the books that he owes it. And so we've been able this year. We had I think it was $960,000 is what the clerk fee what we were able to collect. So we had budgeted $880,000. So I had. Like I said, I had about 80,000 extra this year that they used, and we got to use it to pay for this trial. So that was a good thing.
Outside of the trial, how do you like being clerk?
I actually enjoy it. It's something different. When I was mayor, third floor was kind of off limits. Politically, I didn't have a friend on the third floor. Didn't have a lot of friends anywhere in the courthouse the first years. No.
You and Judge Layton were friends.
We did. Me and Judge, we got along. Well, we had our ups and downs.
Well, yeah.
I can think several times that, yeah. But I give him credit. He helped me get to where I am today as far as when I decided to run for this job. But I enjoy it.
Didn't you bailiff for him a little bit?
I did.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years I bailiffed. Starved to death, but I was preparing myself for the job and get ready for it, and that was.
Well, you and I talked during that time, and you said that you told me your plan. You said because I kept aggravating you. You gonna run for mayor? And you were like, no, but I might do this, and if I do, that's where I'm gonna. Yeah. It's gonna be what I do.
I get asked weekly about running mayor. I said I don't have no desire for that. That's. We've got a mayor. She did a good job. I'm done with that. I like what I'm doing. I'd like to serve maybe one more term. It's kind of what my goal. If I can be fortunate enough, people put.
How long are your terms, right?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you run again?
2 years.
Okay. 2 years.
Everybody comes up in 2 years.
Okay. Oh, cool. Let me take a quick break here, and we'll come back. If anybody's got any questions, call me real quick. Otherwise, we'll let Rex go. Hang on.
As a homeowner, I'm always looking for peace of mind, especially when I have a costly, unplanned expense, like a cooling system repair or replacement. That's when I turn to the eScore Quality Contractor Network. They're the pros who've been specially trained and approved by TVA and your local power company. The quality contractors are licensed and insured, so you can be assured the job will be done right and inspected for free. Contact your local power company or visit energyright.com to learn more.
Ace is a place with the helpful hardware, folks.
It's time to get started on those projects you've been planning, and Ace Hardware in Clinton has what you need to get started. Whether you need tools, paint, lawn and garden equipment, or just about anything else you're needing for your home, the friendly pros at Ace Hardware are here for you. Ace Hardware is a proud supporter of the Clinton Dragons. Ace Hardware, 929 North Charles G. Severs Boulevard in Clinton, 865-457-1478.
Ace is a place with the helpful hardware, folks.
It's time for new flooring, and just in time, Karen's Carpet Sales is offering the sale of a lifetime on LVP from Mohawk. Waterproof floating floor with an innovative lacquer that repels dirt and grime for simple cleaning. And best of all, it's only $1.99 per square foot and comes with a 25-year residential warranty. If it's time to freshen up the look of your home, nothing brightens it up like new flooring. Whether you decide on carpet or laminate, let Karen's Carpet Sales help you give your home just the look you want. Come in and see what's new and bring your imagination. Laminate vinyl plank is waterproof, scratch resistant, and you can choose from several colors. And when your floors look good, you feel good. Karen's Carpet is your headquarters for flooring, carpet, laminate, and on sale now, LVP from Mohawk. Karen's Carpet has been serving East Tennessee for over 50 years. They're located in Claxton, 1961 Clinton Highway, 865-945-3353. Karen's Carpet, the store that gives you more. 945-3353.
Hi, folks. Greg, your friendly garden guy here at Willow Ridge Garden Center. You know, we take pride in our rich history of creating stunning outdoor spaces for our clients. Our team of experienced professionals has been serving the Oak Ridge area since 1981, and we are passionate about bringing your outdoor vision to life. From the moment you step into our garden center, you'll be inspired by the possibilities for transforming your outdoor space into a personal oasis. Whether you dream of a serene pond, a captivating fountainscape, a vibrant landscape, or a welcoming patio, we have the expertise to make it a reality. Our goal is to turn your house into a home by designing and building outdoor environments that you'll cherish for years to come. Whether you're looking to revamp your backyard, create a tranquil escape, or enhance your property with beautiful outdoor features, Willow Ridge Garden Center is here to make it happen. Our team is ready to collaborate with you and bring your vision to life. Call 865-481-3825 to start planning your outdoor oasis now.
No time is a good time to have to call a tow truck, but when you have to make that call, Lowe's Tows is ready to help you. Lowe's Tows, a Wreckmaster certified operator serving Anderson and Campbell counties, Powell, and High School for over 29 years. And they can tow anything with wheels, whether it's a car, truck, motorcycle, everything from a Volkswagen to a semi. They've got you covered. They also offer jump starts, and if you've locked yourself out of your vehicle, give them a call. They can get you going again. Lowe's Tows works with all insurance companies and body shops. And be sure and ask about discounts for military and for employees of Anderson County and the city of Clinton. If you find yourself in need of a tow, give Lowe's Tows a call, 865-457-6927. That's 457-6927. Ready to serve you 24/7. Locally owned and operated. Here for you for 29 years and here for you now. Lowe's Tows, 865-457-6927. We don't want your arms and legs, just your toes.
This Entertainment Insider is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. After more than 40 years, the iconic television show Wheel of Fortune has a new host. How is Ryan Seacrest handling the new role and surroundings?
I want this one to go so well. I want all of them to go well, but this one's new, and I want this one to be something that people go, okay, you know what? I get it. That makes sense.
Get renter's insurance to protect the things that make your place a home, including coverage for theft or damage. Visit Progressive.com.
John Legend here. How do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? With a COVID shot this season.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Ask your healthcare provider and book at VaxAssist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto
All right, guys. Thanks, Bushel, for tuning in and dialing up. Rex, thanks for being here. Anything else you want to say, tell, do?
Everything's good. Appreciate you having me up. I had somebody text me a question about the cost. Did that include the judges and his expenses? But no, the state paid everything involved with the judge and his staff. The state pays that.
So about $65,000 out of the 70 or 80 that you had overage. So we're still in the black.
Yeah, we're fine. We got a little bit left over. So
okay. Anytime, come back. I would never encourage you to run for anything else, but I do miss the days that we got to have our political debates.
But, trust me, right here, I like where I'm at. I want to finish my career out here, and I've enjoyed it. We've made a lot of improvements. I'll tell you, my job is we push paper, but we got to push paper, and we got to file it, and you got to know where it's filed, and we collect money, and that's
what we do.
Yep.
Well, you're obviously doing it pretty good if a judge said that you should put on a course on how to do it. So congratulations. Thanks for coming up, Rex. I appreciate it. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Make sure you tune in at 10 a.m. each day, Monday through Friday, right here on AM 1380 WYSH and BBB TV 12. Or listen live online at WYSHradio.com. And remember, if you have a question, comment, or problem, call in tomorrow and ask your neighbor. Or email from our website. It's Ask Your Neighbor. Thanks for listening.